with the lovely Rick Wakeman.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ed.
How are you, Rick?
I'm very well, thank you very much. I'm trying very hard to be sensible because you told me you wouldn't talk to me unless I would be sensible. So I'm going to be very, very sensible. I'm going to answer all your questions honestly and truthfully. And not going to be silly at all. It's going to be the honest and true answers that I give you here today, Ed, on Labour Day in New Haven.
Oh, well, that does change things. I don't know if I want the truth, you know. I mean, it's like, it could be hard to take. Could you lie a little, maybe?
As things progress, I most probably will a bit, but I'm going to try very seriously to give you the sort of the sensible conversation that I know you've been looking for out of me for the last 7 years. And I'm going to, now is the moment that I think you really deserve it.
Is the world ready?
Pardon?
Is the world ready for this?
Ready or not, this is a changed man you're speaking to, Ed.
You're on the wagon, as they say.
Pardon?
You're on the wagon.
Oh yes, I am indeed, yeah.
What was the reason for this major change in your lifestyle?
Well, there were two major reasons, really. The first major reason, I thought, I just let them shut the door. I thought the first major reason was, well, I mean, drink. Do I really enjoy it? Alcohol, do I really need it? Do I really need my half bottle of scotch a day? My 15 beers a day? Do I need a nice drink? Going out with the lads and thoroughly enjoying myself? That was the first question that I put to myself. And then I thought, And then the doctor said, you've got to give up drinking or you'll croak. So I had a yes and a no, but his answer won. Yes, I do need my half bottle of scotch a day and my 15 beers a day. But the doctor told me I had to pack up because my liver conked out, unfortunately. It finally took its toll over the years of what I'd thrown at it, and it ended up, I don't know what, there's a certain percentage of count that you're allowed for alcohol in the liver, what it can take. And the maximum it can handle is 24%. Thanks a lot, Cliff. The maximum that your liver can handle is 24%, and I had 79, which is a bit over the top. So I hadn't had a drink for 4.5 months.
And how do you feel?
Bloody awful. No, I feel... to be very honest, the only difference I feel is not waking up in the morning with hangover. No, seriously, I don't feel any different at all. I've lost some weight, and that's about it. I don't feel any different at all. I drink lime juice and water and lemonade and I mean, I'm allowed to have the occasional glass of wine, but I did that for a little bit. I had a couple of glasses of wine a week, but I don't even have that now. Because I thought the quicker I get it cleared up, the quicker I can go back to as I was.
I see. So there is hope in the future.
There is hope. Listen, I don't like being on the wagon. I mean, I enjoy my drink. I enjoy a drink with the lads and going into a bar. There's nothing worse than going to a bar, seeing everybody having a good time, having a few extra, and going to bed a little bit hazy, making all sound with a great night. It really is a social thing, drinking, because it's something that you have to do with other people. I mean, I never used to go into a bar on my own and get legless. I used to walk into a bar legless. Sorry. No, when everybody's having a drink together, you'll end up on the same level, horizontal on the floor. I don't miss it. Change the subject.
Yes. Back to the music of Yes. At this point, the new album is Yes Tomato, Tomato or Tomato.
Well, you say tomato, I say tomato. You say potato.
And it's got a lot of new music on it, and I guess
we always try on an album to put
new things. Well, except when you do.
We became very unstuck when we released Fragile 2 with the same tracks on. I mean, people, they suss these things out. I mean, you must do as a, when you're majoring in jockeying, right? I mean, you'll find that you can't get away with putting the same material, that you've already recorded onto an album.
Unless it's a live album or greatest hits.
Oh yes. That you can get away with it if you do that.
Well, you being back with the
Runstadt's greatest hits,
And of course the A&M single Rick Wakeman's greatest hits. Remember that?
Yeah, you played that to your listener, didn't you?
Yes, I did. And you've been back with the band now for a year. Some people are not. Well,
it'll be 2 years in November.
Okay, but all right. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to say that. You're most really getting that out that your real name is Edward Leon Sciaky, and you're a bit on the large side.
Sort of swooped back, sort of snuck back into the band. Some people didn't know that you were back.
No, we kept it.
Patrick Moraz was one who didn't know.
No, he didn't know. He was turning up for recording day after day, and I forgot to tell him. No, seriously, I went back in November of 1976. In fact, it was I officially rejoined the band on Thanksgiving Day, which is November the something over here, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I always remember it was Thanksgiving Day because we went to a party and we had a big turkey dinner. Now that is somebody in the bathroom. This is very interesting. We'll find out very shortly whether he's just doing up his flies with the buttons word or not. It's a number 1 or a number 2. So possibly. I can see the feet. It's a number 2. Tremendous effort there. Yeah, I rejoined in '76. In November, it'll be 2 years. And we spent a long time. We kept it quiet for a long time because we didn't want lots and lots of people talking and publishing and things. We wanted the guy for the one album, to come out and do the talking for us. Which I think is better. I think we decided we'd let the music talk rather than us talk. Can you make some more noise, Paul? Do you reckon? Shall I say that bit again? We thought we'd like to let the music do. Here we go. It's quiet now. We thought we'd let the music do the talking for us rather than us doing thousands of interviews and chatting.
Well, being back now, this is the second album that you've done since you've been back, and I think I feel your influence on the direction of the band. I mean, there were differences between you and John originally when you left.
Yeah, now we're greatest of pals, actually. Greatest of friends. We hang about together an awful lot. And not in the way that you're motioning. I can see that look in your eyes. Said, no, we don't do any of that. Yeah, we spent a lot of time together. We've done some writing together, and we've done some writing together for the album. So you've got to bear in mind, when I went over to do Going for the One, the majority of the material had already been written. So it's just a matter of rearranging it and for me to put my 2 acres in. I really had no part in much of the writing, with the exception of the bits in Wakeman and a few little odd bits here and there. So I was really looking forward to this album because it gave me. I was pleased that they had that album virtually ready for me to go in and play on, and also for the tour, because it gave me myself and Jon a chance to. You all right? Yeah, it gave myself and Jon a chance to get together and work, get some things together, ready for the new album. So timing-wise, it was very good for me. It was excellent.
Yeah. About the material on this album, are there specific songs that you contributed to more?
Yeah, I wrote a song called Madrigal with Jon, and I wrote a song called Arriving UFOs with Jon, and I had part and parcel in a song called Freedom. So I get free name checks, you see, which is very good. But you see, Yes is a funny band. You have to. We're all very sort of honest with ourselves, and we literally pick the best pieces of music. So I mean, all the time people are offering things and throwing things, and it's the best that goes on. And we don't really care who writes it, because it's the overall what happens to it at the end that really matters. And that's where we've always worked, which is why I've never really written that much before the band, because I'd never, up until I came back to the band, felt that I had that much to contribute in the writing field, because you have to write together, you have to write in pairs. And I used to spend most of my time hanging around with Bill Roof. And Jon used to hang around with Steve, and then Chris used to hang around with Aaron a bit. Now I hang around with Jon a lot. We spend a lot of time together. And so obviously what happens is eventually either Jon gets out his guitar, one of his keyboards, the things I get out my keyboards, and we start playing and we start writing. That's really how it starts and happens.
I've also seen that Jon asked you a lot, or tries to maybe you explain some things to him about the nature of what he's writing. I mean, he's written so much Yes music without really knowing a lot about the mechanics of musical theory and so on.
John's getting really into. We spend about an hour a day, hour and a half a day, and John's getting into reading and writing music. And it's not the teacher-pupil sort of thing, but I go in there and I sort of shine little bits that he's done wrong. Not buttering him up, but he's got a natural aptitude for it. He really has got a natural aptitude for it. So, he's got a natural aptitude for it. It's very good. Thanks. I'm very surprised, because it's very difficult to learn. The older you get, the more difficult it is to pick up something new. I mean, it's like learning to read again. And you can imagine learning to read, when you're in your 30s. It's not that easy.
Yeah, fairly near. About a week into the tour now, and I'm here with Jon Anderson. How you feeling now, Jon?
Pretty good. Pretty red. I've just been in the sun for about 2 hours. I say hello to Philadelphia. Can I say hello to Philadelphia? Hello, Philadelphia.
We're about a few days away from the Philadelphia gigs, and I think that a lot of the anticipation this time is about the seating in the round stage, and it's also the 10th anniversary sort of tour of Yes, right? What was where'd the idea come from for the round, and how do you feel about it now that we're actually doing it?
Well, originally Mike Tate, who does our staging, he decided that he wanted to try the round stage in the middle. So we all said, it doesn't sound so good, And he said, well, wait till I've built the stage and then tell me what you think. So he went and built the stage. We came over here to rehearse, and it just happened that we enjoyed playing on it. Probably if we didn't enjoy playing on it, we'd have said, let's go back to the ordinary staging. But it does help. I think a lot of people see a better view of the band, and they can see the whites of our eyes. And
about playing together also.
Yeah, well, I think on any stage you've got to get your performance happening if you can, and the round stage is different. So we are developing a style on stage. It's good though. I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a lot of generally higher energy. I think it's conducive to high energy among the five of you, relating more to each other. Much closer quarters.
Yeah.
Did you used to rehearse in that sort of fashion?
Yeah. We record like in circle fashion, and we rehearse in circle fashion. So we thought, well, let's try playing in circle fashion.
It's also interesting because you, as a band, had sort of pioneered the whole concept of theatrical setting with big lights and big, special effects and lasers and all of that, and now you've sort of let all of that go just in favor of playing the music.
True. But I think at the time, any kind of development on stage was always wanting to give more. That's all.
But you feel you're giving more now, too.
Well, it's a different situation, and obviously it maybe enables us to be more in touch. Even though we always felt we had been in touch with everybody on stage and the audience and stuff, but with the round stage it seems like we're a little bit more in touch with each other and a little bit more in touch with the audience.
We should talk about the new album, which is called Tormato. Isn't it?
Searching for this thing, because I had to play this one, That feels better.
What is that?
I believe it's an Indian snake pipe. It's shaped like a cobra's head. Very simply made and very, very handy for calling up the spirits at night.
All right. About Tormato, the album. First of all, I guess the name and the cover concept.
Yeah, there's 4 tracks on either side of the album, so there's 8 tracks. We had a couple of plans for titles, but we really couldn't decide. So one day Steve came with this. It was a map of Devon, and in Devon there is a hill called Yes Tor. So we thought, well, let's try and use this as a angle towards the cover. And there's some very interesting things we found out about Yes Tor and the vicinity and everything. And the rest is left to the imagination. I can't really go into it too deeply. It's not heavy, you know, but it's just a maybe
It has to do with the tomato.
well, Tor, motto.
Yes.
You see. It just came out that way. It's very hard to say why, but we've stuck with it and said, well, let's see what happens. The music we enjoyed making, and it's very strong on stage. So it's I think a very entertaining album. It's got a lot of different things, and that's all really.
The album cover will speak for itself, I guess, when people see it. If we could go through the tunes, there's 8 of them. The first 2 sort of go together, and that's Future Times and Rejoice.
Mm-hmm. That's a kind of song that came out of the last tour when we were rehearsing in the afternoons and sound check, and I think about 5 of the songs on the album came from that period of time. I think we talked about the idea of using material that was written in 77 last year, and we wouldn't use any old material. We'd only use material that was around that time in 77 when we were together, and that's what is on the album. They're basically ideas that came out of sound checks and late night get-togethers and so on. So it was we made a decisive idea that we'd stick to what we had and we'd make it work. A couple of the tracks I'd already written on tour of last year, and a couple of things that were coming together last year. As I said, Future Times, Rejoice.
A little bit about the song. Did you? Talk. Well, do you want to talk a little bit about? Did you write? You wrote.
I wrote the song and the lyrical content of Future Times and Rejoice, and they're very. I think they're pretty explicit in what they say, and the next song is Don't Kill the Whale, which again I'd written some poetry or such like, lyrics and things, and Chris had this bass line and he said, why don't we write a song on that, and I just sang out these words, and that's basically what Don't Kill the Whale was about.
Sort of a very rock and roll-y tune.
Yeah, it's kind of gets a little bit chanty. It's very nice. I enjoy playing that on stage as well.
Did Rick have an influence on this album, on this material, being back in the band?
Oh yeah, of course. I think one of the tracks, well, in fact 2 of the tracks he plays an important role on, but on one I just turned around and said, why don't we try and write a madrigal, which is a kind of old kind of English folk after dinner song. So he he sat down at the piano, and we just wrote it and recorded it, and it's on the album, and that's called Madrigal. The last cut on the first side is called Release, which I like very much. It's very hard to sing on stage. I kind of, the high notes really get a bit hard.
Yeah.
But towards the middle of the tour we'll probably be singing it. But because the album isn't out just yet, there's no rush to play everything at the moment from the album.
You were saying that you were going to call that anti-campaign?
Yeah. Well, there is a line in it. It was basically about all these campaigns that are going on, especially in now in Europe. You know, you have a lot of anti-campaign things and campaign that. And I had this line which went anti-left, anti-right, anticipate the love of creation, which I liked. So I said, let's call it anti-campaign then, and they said, okay. And then after a while, we were singing release, release at the end so many times. We said, let's call it release, release. It sounds an inner release, you know.
Moving on to side two, we start off with a song called UFO, right?
Yeah. That's basically from thinking about UFOs, and I had this tune, very strange tune in some respects, not too strange. I had this tune, so I started to think about lyrics and the idea of UFOs, and then I went to see Close Encounters, and I went again a few days later to see it again, to make sure, and it was a lot, very much like what I thought the idea of UFOs could be like. And obviously they've done a lot of homework and been spoken to from higher places. But he did a very exciting job of portraying spaceships, which I like. So I think I finished off UFO lyrically around that time that I saw Close Encounters. I don't remember whether it was before or after, but it doesn't make any difference. Because they'll never be exactly what we consider them to be, because it would be incredible that we would know exactly what they look like, or what forms they come in, or so on and so on. I think it'll surprise us all, but
you've dealt, like, I guess, an extraterrestrial travel before. An astral traveler, Starship Trooper, things like that.
Yeah, but basically from my sci-fi trip, you know, which I enjoy science fiction because it is out there and it's up there in the skies, and we've been put here to think about it as well, you know. But for us, nobody to think about up there. I mean, trees generally don't discuss the planetary system. They might.
Well, they might.
They might do. There's every possibility that they do. What's the next one? Circus
from Heaven.
Circus of Heaven.
Circus of Heaven.
Yeah. The Circus from Heaven, or Circus of Heaven, of sorts. That was one of those songs. I'd read a book a long time ago, Ray Bradbury, which is basically about the idea which I related the song to. Very short story about this circus coming to town and everybody having a great time.
And your son is featured in the record, yes?
Yes, he's talking at the end. He has a few words to say.
Sort of like a children's song in a way, yeah.
I've been very interested in getting towards that, but it just takes a little bit of time before you can capture something. So I'm really into doing some more of those kind of things. those stories and things.
Then there's Onward, which is Chris's song, right?
Yeah, Chris's song, a very gentle refrain, just drifting onward. I think that's basically the idea of the song, is to just drift along. And it's very good listening, because of string arrangements and things, you know.
It reminds me a little bit, I guess, of some of the early, maybe like Yesterday and Today, and
Yeah.
when you sang just a short little song on an album rather than it being a part of a larger piece.
Yeah, it was just a very simple idea from Chris, and we just said, let's just try and record it, which we did. And the last track is on the Silent Wings of Freedom, is that right? Which is a kind of good stage number. It's a good number on the album. Kind of hard hitting yes music, I would think. And that's basically it for this year. We went through a period of time where we were more interested in making things work and not worrying about the length of them. So by the time we finished them, we realized they were pretty long sometimes. So we had to squeeze them on an album. We had to chop little bits off. I remember when we were doing Topographic, it was pretty long. It was a bit longer than it was on the album, and it was long on the album. You could revise Topographic to maybe a single album, but you could make Going for the One twice as long. Someone said to me, a friend of mine said to me that Soon could have been a whole side. And I said, yeah, it could be right. I mean, the possibilities are all pretty endless. So the period of time that you're working on your music, it's how it comes out, is how you are and what you're feeling and what you're thinking.
Probably Awaken on the last album was the lengthiest piece you've done for a while.
Yeah. I mean, we can, whenever we feel strong enough, we will do on that kind of large scale opuses sort of thing. Awaken is possibly my favourite of all Yes music. I don't know why. I can't say I've got a favourite because I like them all. But if there's any one song that I like to be engrossed in it, it's that one. Because it's a very it says a lot of things.
And in a way, you didn't try to outdo that track on this album with another opus.
No, there was not really. There was no need to, because you can't reproduce anything to that kind of area of music. I think that's one of our stronger compositions as a whole. I'm trying to explain this very carefully, you know. As music goes, that kind of track has got a lot of different and good qualities. I don't think there is one part where it doesn't actually come off. You've got rock and roll, Eastern music, you've got celestial music, you've got thunderous music of all sorts. I mean, that's one of the reasons why you can't start thinking, well, let's do another Awaken, or let's do another And You and I. You know, you can't do things like that. So this new album, maybe there's more variety on it than the past couple of albums, and that's where we're going. You know, next album I would like to do a couple of 1 minute, 2 minute things, because depends where you're going with them, obviously.
But that's in a way what you did in some of the other things, Fragile, yeah. But also even in Awaken, in the major works, there are little bits of songs that sort of come and go, which was, I guess, a hallmark of Yes music, the way the themes weave.
End section, yeah. But, you know, time moves along. We're just, I think more than anything, just happy to be still together and still working and hopefully still pleasing people. Because it's, I think the longer you're working at things, the better the chance is that you're going to really hit something really heavy, and you say, hey, this is really, you know, a lot of people obviously like the band very much, and a lot of people don't really care anyway. And it would be nice if the people who don't really care really got off on the band, so there'd be a lot more people enjoying, you know, just general music, whatever. It's my... Never wanted Yes to be anything like a clique of people. It's a very open area, music, and we just strive to carry on.
I've noticed that, of course, Alan's, it's not to say that Alan's the new man in the band. I mean, he's been with you for about 5 or 6 years now. Is it 5 years? 6 years. But on this particular show, there seems to be, because he is playing drums, which are acoustic, on a round stage, that there's an emphasis on rhythm in the band now, maybe more than ever before. So, you know.
Well, he can't escape from Alan's powerful percussion. He's a very powerful drummer, and you know, it just happens that I've always been in this similar position of just being in front of Alan anyway, so I've been in that kind of unique position where you're the centre of everything, because the rhythm is possibly the centre, and then everything else comes off it. And now, because the drums are close to the people as well, and to the more of the musicians, then it just becomes a more rhythmic idea on stage.
And therefore powerful as well. The power coming from I mean, in the past I think that perhaps the keyboards supplied a lot of power as well, but the drums seem to be very important now, as well as you doing a little bit of percussion more and more.
Yeah. Thrash.
Yeah, thrash. Yeah.
The sort of thing.
As well as playing the harp, and I think maybe that's why you like Awaken, particularly, because you get to really display some beautiful harp playing on that. You know?
Not really. I just enjoy. I'm only playing 4 notes. Come on.
It's more than I can do.
5 notes. But no, I just enjoy. You know, I enjoy playing the harp very much. I'm not accomplished to be able to play too much, so it's very nice to be able to play a little bit and maybe sound like I'm a little bit accomplished, which I know I'm not. I just enjoy playing it. I'm always a little bit wary of having to learn it. I'd rather just play it, you know. You can pick up tunes, you can learn tunes on it, but I wouldn't really like to get into the kind of finger structures. And it's like playing piano. I enjoy playing keyboards, but I don't really want to start to learn all the finger positions and so on. I just enjoy playing it, so I do the simple way of playing.
But I've seen Rick and you discussing music in a quite technical way at sometimes. Are you sort of learning a little bit of the mechanics from him?
Yeah. I think it's one of the things that I'm leaning towards now. It's still a blur. I'm still far from understanding why that chord has got to come after this chord and so on, and why chords relate to keys and so on. It's only mathematics.
It's really music theory, really.
Music theory, yeah. I'm not very good at them. I must have half a dozen books on music theory, and I really can't get past the first page because they're not very. You know, even my children, they're learning piano, so they've got little books, and I look at it and I can't understand it. But slowly I'm starting to find out about it. Whether I'll ever understand it, I don't know.
Yeah. And in fact, understanding some of the things that you have written, really, and why they sound the way they do, I guess.
Yeah. It's very interesting when you find that out, you know. Or it just seems, well, that's one way of looking at it. I just played certain keys and that was it. And someone would say, well, if you write it down, that's what it looks like. And I'd say, well, that's just a different way of looking at it, that's all. In
going about to select the repertoire for this 10th this 10th tour? I mean, people always stop you in the street and say, "Hey, would you play so and so?"
Yeah. I think most of the requests over the last couple of weeks, when are you going to play Topographic?
Yeah.
And the only answer to that is that it would be very, very nice to perform it one more time. And I think we might just try it one more time. I don't know when, but maybe a film or something silly like that. I don't know. A film's a bit, not really the thing. But in a couple of years we might just... we were going to do some of it this year, and then the pressures of finishing the album and getting on the road just made it so that it would have been good, but for the time being we should stick to the kind of show we got at the moment.
So you're trying to give in this particular tour, trying to give maybe a retrospective or a synopsis of the, except for Topographic.
Retrospect. Yeah, Topographic is never far from our hearts. It's something that I think we all found a lot of things from it, working that period of time. So, and I would think the same with Gates of Delirium was always a very exciting piece to play. And it is a bit difficult when Rick comes back, that you don't want to impose on how he thinks about the new music. It's better to play new music with someone rather than say, can you learn this, So there is going to be a little bit of a chunk out of our career not going to be played again. As Steve said the other night, he said if we kept playing, we could play for 5 hours and really bore everybody to tears.
Well, you wouldn't be boring the Yes fans, but
no, I know,
there's a limit.
There's a limit to, so we just try to put together a good performance, and keep it organised.
Are you looking ahead to anything specifically for the future?
Lots of different things. It's very hard to pinpoint exactly what they are, I know in the back of my mind what I'd like to be doing next year and the year after. As I've found, the last couple of years have gone about the way I thought they might do. We were going to make a couple of pretty straightforward albums in some respects, with some nice hard hitting songs, and so on, and just maybe one more next year, going into a little bit of a more diversity, a lot of different things next year. I think that's what I'd like to see happening. And then I think we should just take a running jump and try something crazy, something really whopping. Something. It's very hard to say what it is, but I think the round stage could imply a leaning towards, a certain style of play. I don't know what it is. I'm only saying that just to conjure up the possibility.
As usual, everybody in Philadelphia wishes you all the best, and hope to see you, real soon again, maybe next year.
Great. I hope so. I don't know what happens. I just hope that things move along the way they are moving along. And there's no doubt about it, they will. But I'd just like to say, no, it's great to be on the verge of coming to Philadelphia. It's a withering snake bite.